And hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Back with the Midwest Express. So, how much do we need to make per hour? Do you work per hour? Do you work per delivery? Are you working per mile and delivery? Everybody has their own statistics and the way that they work. And I was talking with one of my fellow drivers yesterday, Omar, and we were kind of crunching numbers, and he was telling me about his earnings over the last few weeks. And he's taken a lot of reserve rides, a lot of really long trips. And I was like, man, that's like, 140 miles there, 140 miles back. That's 280 miles. And he's like, I don't count miles because he's driving an older vehicle. He doesn't stress about the miles. He's like, dollar per hour. How much am I making per hour? Because if I would make more on a regular job per hour, then it's not worth it. And I was like, that's a good point. Omar likes to work by the hour. And I've been in that same boat. And I think those are probably my biggest rally paychecks over this last year have been by taking long ball rides that pay well. But I'm driving for hours, but I'll make $300-400 in one trip. And that is very advantageous. Now, I know a lot of other people that were like, oh, I'm not driving that far for that money. I'm going to just do small dips and dunks and do small trips all day. And that was fine if you have the clientele to continue those small trips. Well, right now, there isn't many trips out there, or we're oversaturated so much because there are just so many drivers inundated into the market. But I thought this was an interesting poll that I wanted to do because a week ago, I had seen this, the average weekly hours spent on gig work. And this is by Upwork, and this isn't just ride share and food delivery. This is all gig work. And it's put together by Zeti. And they talk about in this statistics that only 3% are doing it full time, 40 hours or more, 16% 20 to 30, 32% are doing it 20 to 30 hours. And it's a side hustle. It's gig work, and it's things that people are doing to make the extra money out there, and they're doing it as a side hustle, and that's what's recommended with gig work. It is a hard hustle if you don't have a pension or you're not retired to do gig work full time, because if you don't have other revenue streams coming in, to be in your vehicle that many hours a day and to come up with a zero or a low ball offer and have to choose, well, do I take that rather than doing nothing? And that's the dilemma a lot of drivers find themselves in nowadays. And it got me thinking a little bit more about the goals for this next year and for myself, and what are they? And last year I asked you guys, what are your plans for 2023? And this is a poll I did. And the largest number was to make more money next year. And a lot of people were very optimistic at the beginning of 2023 about gig work and where things were going. And 22% said going to keep it as a side hustle just for extra cash. But 26% of the people that were in gig work at the beginning of 2023, they seen the writing on the wall. I've been talking about this for too long. My brother says, you're always talking about the end of the world with gig work. But I see it getting tougher and tougher every day. It was a lot easier when I first started, 3 years ago, and now it's a harder grind. It's the gamification of everything has just increased, and you got to be so flexible and fluid to keep moving through all the changes that all these gig apps throw at us all the time. But last year, 23% or 26% said, I'm going to keep milking this cow until she's dead, because they knew that it's coming. And I think all of us seasoned gig workers know that there will be a day when this just is not worth it. And is that day now? So again, I asked kind of the same question in this week's poll. And I said, with the New Year's having already arrived, what is your gig work plan / anticipated earnings for 2024? And 28% said make more money this year, compared to last year, which was 40%. So less people are as optimistic. 33% said keep working it as a side hustle for extra money or to help them survive, which That's actually up from last year. 22% said they were going to keep it as a side, just as a side hustle. Taper down my gig work and focus elsewhere. This year we're at 15%, where last year we were at 4%. So a lot of people are seeing the doubt in gig work and tapering back. And maybe it's because you've been here watching my channel for a while and the curtain's been pulled back and everything's been revealed. Because we all know when you get into gig work, you get the promotions, you get all the incentives, you get all the good orders, you get everything. It's all, rainbows and sunshine when that's all going on. But when you get to this cold snow of the winter, things change a bit and you're kind of like, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. And this year I changed the last question. Instead of milking the cow until she's dead, this year I said, I don't know. Things are tough to tell. And 15% jumped onto that as well. So I think last year's question, when I asked about milking it, people were like, I'm going to stay here, but I think it's going to be a downward spiral. This year, I think the question's more of, we just don't know. And we're all optimistic. We want things to survive because if this is your jam, this is what you're doing for your side money, or this is what you're doing for your full-time hustle. Losing this starts making you think, all right, what am I going to do and what am I going to accept? And just today, I remember, if you guys remember the app Variably, there's a job that posted here in Madison. The day after I made my previous video about that gig app, they sent me an email and said, hey, there's jobs upcoming in your area in Madison, after I posted there's no jobs in my area with us. So I'm like, okay, let me see what they are. And they're all on the startup of a new store for the Salvation Army, and they pay $15 an hour. And I was like, I don't want to do that for $15 an hour. Figuring McDonald's paid $17 an hour. So I upped it. I threw my bid up at $20 an hour, and I submitted it. And I want to say maybe 30 minutes later, I think his name was Brandon, gave me a call from Variable and said, hey, you're brand new, you don't have a good rating yet, you just need to establish yourself a little bit. We recommend that you take the job at the price that they're offering and build a good score, a work score, and then you can up your bids later. And I was like, well, okay, if you want me to rescind the bid, I'll take the bid down. But I'm not going to do it for $15 an hour. And he's like, well, just for the first job, just to establish yourself as a good worker. And I go, I understand what you're saying, but no, $15 isn't worth my time. So, but I said, thank you for the offer. I'll pull it down. I'll pull back the bid if you'd like. And he's like, well, I'm not telling you to pull back the bid. I'm just telling you, you're probably not going to get accepted at that rate. And you need to, get it started. And I was like, okay, thanks. And he was like, all right, have a good day. After we realized I wasn't going to take the $15 job. So it's interesting. That's a gig app that's breaking out into my market here, supposedly, and just coming to the market. And they want to get a workforce, but they got to realize that Madison, Wisconsin, $15 an hour ain't going to do it when they're paying $19 at Culver's. So, but to each their own. Hopefully you guys get some value out of this. Leave your comments below. Make sure you like. It helps the algorithm, helps my channel, and we'll hit you on the next one.